Hello, Nancy.
Can you hear me okay?
I can,
Oh,
loud and clear.
that's great. Well, hello everyone. Greetings from Bay Area, California. Welcome back to the Nancy Chu live stream. Typically on this stream, we talk about product management, product leadership. Occasionally, we talk about entrepreneurship or solopreneurship, and we also talk about spirituality. And today we have Eric here, and we're talking about spirituality and how to align your work with your authentic selves. Now, Eric used to also work in tech like me. He was a researcher at Meta and also Airbnb, and now he is an intuitive and transformational coach. I'm going to hand the mic over to Eric. Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey, and how you became a coach.
Yeah, of course. So, thank you for joining, everyone. My name is Eric, and I'm a transformational coach and also PhD psychologist. And I empower spiritually curious professionals to become conscious entrepreneurs so that they can feel really confident and empowered building their dream business. And in addition to my training in psychology, I also have advanced knowledge and experience with holistic practices and tools like meditation, energy healing, intuitive channeling, and also plant medicine.
Love
And all of these are tools that I use to empower those who have that spiritual curiosity to explore their relationship with themselves and how to leverage these tools to unlock new levels of fulfillment and wealth in entrepreneurship and in their business. And so that's really what I'm all about now, is like moving into this role as a transformational coach out of my 9 to 5, really wanting to be able to empower and mentor and teach other people how they can live happier and more fulfilling lives.
I
And so
love
that's
that.
kind of where my journey has taken me so far.
What does it mean to be spiritually curious?
Yeah. So I think it means like a lot of people have this kind of inclination to explore the unknown or explore maybe what's beyond us. I know that when I first had my spiritual awakening, and when I went about that process, I got very curious in terms of like what could lie beyond this reality that we really don't have any understanding of from a scientific point of view yet. Like we have so much yet to discover from a scientific point of view. We're discovering new things all the time, and quantum physics is really allowing us to see like there is more to this reality than what meets the eye.
Mm.
And that's how it's really now interwoven into a lot of spiritual paradigms. Is we're seeing this more or less this blend of scientific knowledge and spiritual wisdom coming to the forefront. And I think that's just super powerful. And I think it's allowing people to get a little bit more curious and ask a little bit more questions about like, okay, like if this is true, then why are we here? What are we doing? What is our purpose? Like asking all these more existential questions. And so that's what I mean in terms of like spiritually curious. People are naturally just curious about their place in the cosmos and wanting to learn more about it.
I had my spiritual awakening years ago when I was in the middle of climbing that corporate ladder. And I basically went through a bunch of hardships at work that I have never faced before. And that basically prompted me to start asking questions. At first, I was just thinking on a very surface level and very tactically, my feng shui must be off. That's why my work is not going well. And so I studied feng shui for a little bit, and that got me into the rabbit hole of working with crystals. And
Mm,
turns out that I really resonate with crystal energy. I could feel crystal energy. And then that got me into the rabbit hole of working with angels. And then
mm,
one thing led to the other. I've never tried plant medicine. Um, but I would say if it wasn't for spirituality, actually, if it wasn't for all the hard things that was happening at work, I wouldn't have discovered spirituality. And I wouldn't have gone
Mhm.
down this path to really explore who I really am, what my purpose is, what my passion is. And then fast forward a few years later, I was able to start my own business.
Mm.
And on the surface, it feels like I'm saying goodbye to corporate, right? I'm saying goodbye to big tech and I'm starting this new thing. But underneath that, it is a spiritual journey. And I wouldn't have been able to do all of these things and making all kinds of changes in my life if it wasn't for the spiritual coaching that I was blessed to have.
Yeah, that's super powerful. I feel like your journey and mine are very similar in that I think our corporate experience kind of was the catalyst to our spiritual awakening. I feel like my corporate experience was kind of that point in, I don't know if you are familiar with alchemy or not, but in the period of like immense transformation and getting to the point of like turning lead to gold, it's you first have to burn
Yes.
the materials. And I feel like being in corporate, I feel like I was like really burned. It was that calcination point that kind of propelled me into coaching because I was just
Yes.
like, damn, like I really feel like I could be doing more.
Yes.
And that's like what led me to entrepreneurship. And
I love
I
that.
love how you commented on crystals because I literally have crystals all over this apartment.
Me too. Oh my gosh. What is on your desk right now? I wanna see it.
Oh, I have selenite. I can't reach it, but selenite's kind of everywhere. I love selenite. It's
I have
very like high
selenite
energy.
right
Yep,
here.
that's it.
I
And they're
have
actually not that expensive. You can
they're
actually buy
not.
selenite for not
They're
that
yeah,
expensive.
very accessible. I
Yeah.
have citrine,
I love that.
amethyst.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, I can
Smoky
pull
quartz.
out. Yeah, I have quartz too.
Love. Oh my gosh. Lapis.
Oh, I lapis is like one of my favorites.
Me too. Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah.
And I have moldavite.
Oh, Moldavite's very powerful.
So I was told that it's very powerful. I was wearing moldavite on me. And then the worst, quote unquote, the worst thing happened to me at work.
What
And then I was like,
happened?
all right, moldavite, I need to take you off.
What happened at work?
I I joined a new team and then nothing is working. I was never good enough.
Mm,
Uh, Never understood what my manager wanted. And it really made me question, am I actually a PM? I'm being
mm.
told that I'm just not good. Just like nothing was going well. And I had to take my moldavite off.
Yeah.
But it was because of all of those hardships that led me down this path.
Mm. Yeah, that totally makes sense, and it's usually the hardships that push us into transformation.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about your spiritual awakening that happened in 2020 and that shifted your whole path.
Yeah, so I feel like before 2020, I was still very committed and invested in my corporate job in tech, and I was just feeling really deeply unfulfilled at that point. In fact, I'd been feeling that way for like a while, like really ever since I decided to go into corporate America back in 2017. But 2020 was the big year. I mean, it was the big year for us all. It really changed everything for us, and and for me particularly, it was a time for me to really go within and re-examine who I truly was. And with the support of really great friends and people out here in the Bay Area in San Francisco, I started exploring a lot with different spiritual practices and avenues, including meditation, breath work, yoga, mediumship, and even like plant medicine. And I will say that plant medicine was the catalyst to my awakening process because it broke down the societal constructed narratives of
Mhm.
who I thought I was.
Can you give us an example of what societal constructed narrative means?
Yeah, like I would say it's more or less like other people expecting you to do something or be someone that you really deep down are not. So like for
Mhm.
me, it was the expectation that and this was like from my parents early on, like we expect you to go into a 9 to 5 and work, like,
Yes.
have that stable paycheck
Same.
and, have that life. Like we definitely don't expect you to become an entrepreneur and like, take on all that risk and all that stuff. So I think my parents expected that of me, but I feel like the people I surrounded myself with at the time also expected that of me. It was just
Same
like
here.
normal. It was normalized. Um and so that's what kind of got me into this loop of thinking like I need to be this like 9 to 5 researcher in tech. I need to climb the corporate ladder like everyone else is doing. So I was
Yeah.
essentially listening to everyone else around me but myself, but like what I felt like I was really feeling or what I was really desiring. And so I would say that's part of like the constructed narrative that I was kind of boxed into this little 9 to 5 go to work researcher. And that's who I really thought I was for a long time.
Mhm.
And once those narratives were broken down, I received a lot of insight into who I really am, and which is a healer. And it's funny because this all comes full circle because as a teenager, I loved the mystical, the spiritual, the metaphysical. I went to metaphysical fairs with my mom all the
Oh my
time when I was a
gosh.
teenager, and I met famous psychics. And I like collected crystals, you name it. Like I did all of this stuff when I was a teenager, but I just put all of that on the back burner when I went into high school and
Yeah.
college because it just wasn't really readily accepted by a lot of people. And so my younger self knew what I really wanted to be doing from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And my spiritual awakening process really allowed me to connect to that, which was like super special. And as time passed, I engaged in like deeper self-discovery and really discovered my spiritual gifts and intuitive abilities and like really broke out of those old subconscious patterns that I was able to cultivate going all into my business endeavor of becoming like an entrepreneur and becoming
Mhm.
a coach. So all of these were inputs into how I felt like I could carry on my life, and my profession.
So when you transitioned from corporate big tech into entrepreneurship, how did you make that transition? Was it a gradual transition or is it more like on and off switch?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely the former. It's definitely a gradual transition, and I think for me, it was just a matter of slowly understanding how I wanted to make the transition, at the same time keeping a good sense of balance
Mm.
between like my 9 to 5 job, but also like how I was like putting together this business vision for myself.
Mm.
And better understanding who I really am at my core. So on the side, I was doing all this inner healing work and self discovery work while I still held on to my corporate
I
job because
see.
like your corporate job provides you like that stability,
Yeah.
and if you just like quit it cold turkey and try to do all of this self discovery work and building your business, like you're going to like get stressed because it's like, oh, now you're on a timeline because you're like, oh no, I don't have any money coming in and therefore
Mhm.
I have to like really make it now. But like this process it takes time, and it's just really good to think about like how we can slowly go about this transition and be really intentional about it too.
Mhm. What so you mentioned you had to go through inner healing as part of this transition. What did you have to heal in order to transition?
Great question. A lot of it was a lot of my perfectionism. A lot of it had to do with my fear of being seen, being visible. In fact, I think doing something like this, like a live, about 2 years ago, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to because I would be so afraid of what people would think of me. And in fact, I
Mm,
talked about this on an Instagram live all yesterday, where I was basically talking about my initial fear of going public on social media
mm,
and my fear of what everyone else would think about me and what everyone else would think about my beliefs and my the topics that I would talk about, like spirituality, mysticism, all the things that I'm really passionate about. I hid that for a long time just because I was so fearful about what
mhm,
other people would, what they like. I was just so fearful about their judgments and, or maybe I should say their the perception that they would judge me. Like I had this I held that kind of in my mind, and so it took a lot of inner healing work. And when I say inner healing work, I did a lot of work with like energy healing, like
mhm,
Reiki helped me calm my nervous system, and also doing a lot of somatic deep breathing exercises, meditation. That's why I love work bringing these spiritual like holistic modalities into my coaching, because it allows people to move through these subconscious fears and the blocks and everything that's preventing them from embracing their highest potential. And so so I think like going through all of those, like that inner healing allowed me to really come out of my shell, and allowed me to bloom in a lot of ways.
I love that. The fear of being seen is so real. For me, I didn't have jitters associated with going live, but I had a lot of jitters associated with not being accepted in the old community that I was part of. Being associated with someone who works in big tech, being product management, etc. I was part of that community, and I've always felt like that's not all of me. That's one part of me, but it's not all of me.
Hmm.
And because there's so much tribal mentality that is still left in me, I just want to be accepted. I want to be part of the tribe still. So that was one of my biggest fears as I was making my transition. And I, it was funny. You mentioned going to fairs. I went through a similar journey as well. I I formed a relationship with a psychic.
Yeah,
And
same.
and that relationship turned into more like a coaching relationship. So in
Mm,
the beginning of my transition, I was actually coached by my psychic to
mm,
explore spirituality in a more public way. But this was when I still had a corporate job. But I was being trained more formally in energy in healing,
mm,
sound healing,
mm.
energy healing, etc. So that was just in the beginning of my transition.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've been working with like a psychic for years as well. His name's Rob, and he's like gone all over the world, like spoken with so many different types of like leaders and people, many different walks of life. And he's been in my family for, specifically my mom and me consult with him often. And it's been like we've consulted with him for like 15 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he's been like a huge inspiration of mine, to be honest, because he's a lot like me in terms of like he is like that kind of psychic coach type of figure.
Definitely. So for those for our viewers and listeners who are not familiar, can you explain what aura reading is? Because I know that's one of the services you offer, aura reading, and how can it provide insight into someone's purpose and blocks and overall energy? How does that work?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's like one of the topics I'm super passionate about. It's super interesting to me, because it's generally believed we all have an aura or an energy field that surrounds us. And this energy radiates off of us like electromagnetic field and can actually be measured and observed using scientific equipment.
Mhm.
And though not many people think about or believe, maybe even we have a human energy field, it can be depicted as this like aura where these vibrant colored lights surround your body. And while seeing a person's aura takes practice, and some people feel like they like are not able to like see it per se, they've likely felt it. Like for example, if you might have felt like excited around like one person in particular, but overwhelmed or like kind of hesitant to like approach another. That's kind of like you're feeling someone's energy without like having conscious awareness of it.
Mhm.
And your aura kind of radiates from you as this glowing light. Some people's auras radiate kind of this soft and subtle energy, while others give off a more like defined and brighter light. And this light is typically consists of like layers extending about like 6 feet from your
Mhm.
body, which I refer to as the energy colors. And this is where the colors come into play, because these colors represent different frequencies of energy around your body, and
Mhm.
each person's frequencies differ in like shape, vibrancy, color, you
Yeah.
name it, and each holding its own meaning. And so the one or two energy colors closest to your body, known as your life colors, reveal your personality and your life purpose. And in addition to your life colors, your aura can also have like outer bands of several different hues as well. And all of this can really be seen using aura photography and different
Yes.
equipment, which is like super, super cool. And the energy frequencies around your body can really be thought of as your soul's footprint. It's like your energetic signature in this lifetime. And knowing your energy colors can really help you understand who you are and who you can become. So, for example, if a person feels their higher purpose is to inspire and lead other people, kind of like coaches, they likely have violet in their aura, because
Mhm.
violet are kind of these inspirational visionaries, these
Mhm.
leaders, these change makers. They're kind of like the Oprah Winfreys of the world. They're like have these big personalities that are really about it, like influencing the masses. And violet is really associated with like the third eye and the crown chakras,
Mhm.
representing kind of this higher frequency of energy and higher consciousness.
What about blue?
Blue is like the energy of comfort. It's like a very motherly energy. So a lot of mothers have lots of blue in their aura. They're very approachable. They make everyone feel at home and comfortable. Their mission is to really provide that sense of comfort and resourcefulness for a lot of people. It's so it differs from violet, because violets are all about getting on stage and influencing other people, but blues are more of like the people who are behind the stage, like taking
Mm.
care of everyone, making sure they all have the water, making sure they all have like the things they need before they go on stage. And so that's kind of the difference between those kind of color combinations.
Guess why I asked you about blue?
Yeah, because I feel like you have a little bit of blue in your aura.
So I'm in Mountain View in the
Uh-huh.
Bay Area, and in downtown Mountain View, there's the East West bookstore, and
Mm.
they have these aura reading photography services. So I went and I got my photograph taken, and it's all blue.
That's yeah. I mean, it makes sense because you literally are surrounding yourself with blue behind you,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because this is so interesting because feel like for people's colors, the actual frequencies around their body, they tend to naturally gravitate towards experiences and places that emanate that exact frequency. So
Mm,
like you may be drawn to lots of blue in your life. So you might be attracted to like the sea and like all of that stuff. And so
totally.
Like for me, I have lots of violet and indigo in my aura. And guess what my
Mm.
brand colors are? Violet and indigo.
I love that, I love that.
And
So
so you can actually see, like, in a lot of coaches or a lot of people who have their own businesses, look at their brand colors and see what kind of stands out. Then you can kind of get a little clue into what their colors are.
I use blue everywhere.
I can see it's like really just everywhere. It's so funny.
So how does it work when you, work with a client on their aura reading?
Yeah. So essentially, like, I use my intuition to um, guide the reading, so I can kind of get a sense. Like, I'm more clairsentient than clairvoyant, which just simply means I feel someone's energy more so than I can see it. Sometimes
Mm,
I can see like an aura around someone, but mostly it's like a feeling I get
mm,
from someone's energy that I'm like, oh yeah, it feels like they're yellow, or yep, it
mhm,
feels like they're blue. And so I get that kind of intuitive hit from someone. Then I kind of start providing the reading that way. And I say, well, it seems like your personality is X, and it seems like you would be really drawn to these type of experiences and be attracted to these types of people, and this is the way that you typically like hold your energy, and the way you recharge, and the way you like find balance in the world. So that's kind of how I begin the reading, using like that kind of intuitive hit from someone.
I love that, and this leads me to my next question, which is your coaching approach combines psychology, energy healing, Reiki, other spiritual principles. Now, how do these elements all work together to help your clients heal and unblock and align and everything?
Yeah. Yeah. So since I have like my PhD in psychology, I think it's like such like an interesting area of study. And I bring it into my coaching often because psychology provides like a foundational understanding of human behavior, thoughts, and also emotions. And by addressing psychological patterns and beliefs, we can really uncover underlying issues that may be causing people to have self-doubt, for example, the limiting beliefs, the emotional blocks. We can really understand the etiology, the causes, like the root causes of like a lot of this stuff, using psychological framework. And once we understand that, then I can bring in, that's where I bring in like the healing modalities, the energy healing, which can work on like the body's subtle energy systems to clear these blocks and kind of restore balance. And Reiki in particular really helps to release the stagnant energy and promote relaxation and healing. And usually during a session, I kind of combine Reiki, but with also some breath work,
Mhm,
and some guided meditation. So that way people are kind of more or less in the experience, and allows them to just channel that energy through their body so they can start to release all of those blocks. And that doesn't mean like one energy healing session can eradicate like a block. It usually takes like
takes a few, yeah.
it takes a few times. It takes a few sessions to finally really start releasing a lot of that. And also like on part of the client also, it's like they also have to do their inner work and really do a lot of homework, journaling, kind
Yeah.
of integration of all of this stuff as well. But consistently utilizing practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and intuitive development fosters kind of like this sense of self-awareness and
Mhm.
spiritual connection, which is really important for these clients as well, working past a lot of the self-doubt and limiting beliefs. This really empowers clients to tap into their innate gifts and live really authentically, because I feel like a lot of people who are interested in entrepreneurship and interested in the coaching domain, they are naturally intuitive. It's just a matter of like, how can they trust their intuition more and really lean more into it? And so that's part of like my programs, is that I really help people understand how they can trust their intuition and lean more into that, and not give so much power to the analytical mind. But the analytical mind is of course important, and but not discounting your intuition, because it can really help you align your work with your true self so that you can lead like a happier and more fulfilling life. And so I intuition's kind of like the bedrock for me when it comes to really understanding who you are.
I love that. And we have a member from our audience chiming in. Shika says, "This is so fascinating." It is. It is so fascinating. And this, I love that Eric is here talking about this on LinkedIn. And that's because this is the underlying root of what motivates us, what drives us, what keeps us going. And I love that Eric mentioned that his coaching involves healing and helping his clients remove these blocks. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about why we need to remove these blocks? What exactly is a block and how does it manifest in your
Mm.
in the day to day as someone who works in corporate or someone who works in a tech company?
Yeah, so blocks can manifest in terms of like a limiting belief. So it could manifest as I don't feel like I have the power to leave my situation, even though I feel like it is toxic for me. Like I just don't have that authority or that power to be able to do that for myself. And it's just a matter of like pushing back on that limiting belief and just asking more questions out of curiosity and reframing those beliefs in terms of like more empowering beliefs, like how what is a way that you could do this? What is like a way that you can like overcome these obstacles? And just getting them into that reframing mindset. But it also requires, like I mentioned, a lot of like somatic body work too, like keeping in mind like those limiting beliefs, those blocks, but just breathing through them, like holding those in your mind and having the intention in your mind to really want to move past them, and then just going into like a deep meditation or like a breath work experience. And then over time, like your body starts to expel a lot of that energy that's like kind of preventing you from moving forward in a lot of
Mhm.
different ways. I know that for example, one of my past clients, his name is Logan, he had a lot of blocks around his ability to tap into his creative energy and be creative as a software engineer, because like
Mhm.
he like a very analytical mind, and but he was wanting to be more creative, and because he enjoys like artwork, but he's like was finding himself blocked around being able to do that, because it was not in line with what was expected of him and like his role. And so we did a lot of work, a lot of energy work, but also plant medicine journeying, which is like something that
Mm.
I use with my clients sometimes, and it helps them release a lot of those kind of mindset blocks that prevent them from actually embracing that side of themselves, because they start to realize what's really foundationally important to them and significant to them that allows them to embrace their authentic selves. And so that's kind of how I was able to do that for him, which was like super powerful.
I love that. One thing you mentioned, which is all around self awareness, self belief. Basically, we are all powerful beings and we have whatever it is in this lifetime to go after the true desires that we want. Not surface level desires, but true desires with a capital D. And in fact, that's what we are here to do in this lifetime. We have all the tools and all the power within us, but sometimes we get blocked. Sometimes we listen to other people telling us what to do, or sometimes we believe that, oh, society thinks option A is the right way, you know. So the once we're able to first become aware that I should have what it takes to go after all my truest desires, but I'm blocked for some reason. And once we're able to remove that, we're able to actually move forward and take that step one step at a time. So
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
the work that you're doing.
you have more power than you know.
Absolutely.
Everyone does. It's just a matter of
Everyone.
like reframing that belief and turning it into like something that you can be more empowered by as opposed to being blocked by.
Yes, and I would say society and culture does a really good job of pushing people down, as in
Mm,
forcing everyone to stay in their lane, to stay in the box. And that's because we are wired to play it safe. Right? We're not really wired to can take risks because we might die, right? That's a
mhm,
very evolutionary type of growth. We are where we are today because we were able to evolve and stay alive,
mhm.
stay alive long enough so that our babies are okay. That's how our brains are wired. Now,
Yeah.
knowing that, like our brain by default optimizes for safety and security, but as long as we're able to rewire our own thinking, we're then able to go after what we want, which our brain might think is risky.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. It's very uh, evolutionarily. It's a very evolutionary. Like it's something that we're just naturally wired
Yeah.
to like listen to everyone else outside of ourselves. But it's just a matter of like how can we bring that back to ourself and start listening to our own intuition, listening to our own inner voice. That's where we have most of the
Mhm.
power within.
Love that. My next question is for our viewers and listeners who are high achievers and ambitious people in tech companies. They might feel stuck. I'm hearing this all the time now. They feel stuck, super stressed, super burnt out. They're also experiencing physical pain because of the stress that they're facing right now. What would you say to someone who is in that position, who is spiritually curious, but they're very skeptical about leaving corporate?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is going back to the aura concept that we talked about. The people that are more likely, the people that are getting sick in corporate are the violets deciding to stay
Mm,
because violets need to be their own boss. They need to really go out into the world and make a difference and make a change. They're the change makers.
right.
But if they're listening to other people and they're staying in their corporate role with no plan in sight, they're going to get sick. And that's kind of what was happening with me when I didn't get like so sick. I kind of caught it pretty early on. Like I was only in corporate for about like 7 years, but I was feeling that kind of I think if I stay here for another 5 years, I'm going to get ill. Like I'm going to like my health is going to like really plummet if I stay where I am with no plan, with no ability to like move forward and really be true to who I am. And so that's what I've been seeing with a lot of people. But I would just say just I would say like for those people more spiritually curious, like that feel stuck, like I would just say just start learning more about yourself. Like your dharma, what gives you energy. It's really crucial to build like a firm foundation of who you are and what you want to become before leaving your corporate job. Because
Mhm,
many of my clients regret leaving their corporate positions only to begin a self-discovery process afterwards, and they often wish that they started that journey while still employed,
mhm,
helping them to explore themselves without the pressure of making a new kind of spiritually based business on like a tight timeline. That's
mhm,
like when we feel really rushed to be able to make money or do all of these things, then that's when we're like, oh shit, I have to like go back to corporate because then I have to like, provide for myself. So it's like I just recommend the practical approach
mhm,
to entrepreneurship. Just be sure to hold on to your day job for stability until you get to that point where you feel like, okay, now I can make the leap. And self exploration really takes time. And my own spiritual awakening process, to the point where I like felt ready to leave my job, it took about 4 years,
Mm.
because pursuing your purpose is important, but it's practical to do so while maintaining the stability of your current job, and use this time to better understand like what you want, who you are, and who you can grow into. And once you have that solid foundation, you can begin transitioning from the corporate career to a more fulfilling career path, such as like running your own business. And I did this a while at Airbnb. So once your systems are kind of up and running and you start attracting clients, you can decide when to transition into your new venture. So I would say, in short, just know yourself, align with your vision, kind of work on the steps,
Yeah.
and build your dream career while maintaining that kind of sense of stability at the same time.
I was one of those people who got physically sick to the point where my doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And my physical symptom was in my belly. I had a mysterious stomach pain that just lingered for years. Sometimes I would have to take, let's say, Advil. But most of the time, it's not bad enough that I needed to take something, but it was just always there in the background of my life. And every year when I had my physical, my doctor would say, "Oh, yeah, last year you said your stomach hurt." Still, yeah. So then I actually did a lot of tests to, they were, because they didn't know what was wrong with me.
Mm,
All kinds of blood tests. And then at one point, they thought I had bladder cancer because of the symptoms lined up to it. So I
mhm.
even got checked up for bladder cancer. Um, and you could imagine the emotional roller coaster. It's like, what is wrong with me? Oh my God, I'm only in my 30s and I have bladder cancer. Oh my gosh, my baby is only 6 months old and I have bladder cancer, you know? So I went through all of that. And I also had terrible sleep for many, many years.
Mhm.
But now I don't have those problems anymore. I have good sleep and I don't have this mysterious stomach pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't put two and two together when I see people like having these chronic illnesses, and they complain about their job all the time, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, I don't know why I'm so sick all the time." I'm just like, I see the writing on the
Yes.
wall. I know what's happening, but I just like I feel so I feel bad sometimes. I'm like, well, it's your job. Like I can't really like to come out right and say that all that much,
Right.
but it's like I feel like people don't really realize the internal damage that they're doing while just
Mhm.
staying in a job or like a corporate role that just is not aligned with
Right.
with themselves and with their values or anything like that. It's and I've seen a lot of like my friends as well like wrestle with that, and they're kind of going through the same questioning: is this what I would really want to be doing? And as soon as they start exploring like what they could do, and they start having their passion projects on the side, then all
Yes.
of a sudden they started getting better. They're like,
Yes.
oh. And so it's just like so funny how like putting our like energy in certain places that are aligned with like our values and who we are, like it can really be like amazing for our overall health and well-being.
Absolutely, and you also need to be open to seeing other ways.
Hmm.
I wasn't willing. I was handcuffed. I had the golden handcuffs, and I didn't think that there was any other way. But thankfully, nothing was working at work, and then I was like, "Okay, there has to be another way."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I also feel this is something I'm actually teaching about like later this afternoon. I'm literally teaching a class on my journey going from the grind to what I call the coaching gold mine, which is like going from like my 9 to 5 job into like a really fulfilling career. And it's like really enhanced my life in a lot of ways. And I'm like talking kind of about my journey going from that point A to that point B. And what's really cool is that a lot of people say like, well, I feel like it's super risky going into being an entrepreneur, and but honestly, is it worth risking staying in like a less than fulfilling job that might, lead to like your like detrimental health? And so it's just like weighing those things
Well,
really.
that really shows about the cultural conditioning that is present right now. So I had lunch with a doctor once who's a family friend, and then she said, "Oh my gosh, what you're doing is so hard." And then I was like, "You're a doctor. It's not harder than going through medical school. Becoming a business owner is not harder than going through residency and then becoming a neurosurgeon. Like what you're doing is hard. What I'm doing
Mhm.
is not as hard." But people have this perception only because it's very niche, right? It's not a proven pathway for a lot of people. And so we attach the unknown with being hard. But if you're just more open to the possibility that this doesn't have to be hard,
Mhm.
then you'll see the world in very different ways.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have fun doing what I do, and I think that's the best medicine for that kind of lack of fulfillment is just like how can we have more fun, more joy, more play?
Yes.
And so I call that bringing in the yellow energy, because the yellow energy is all about play, joy, happiness, and fun. And so you
Yes.
just bring and channel that in, then you can really feel solid in kind of where you're kind of marching toward.
Love that. Tell us about your 3-month coaching program. You're calling it the Energized Entrepreneur.
Yeah. I was super excited about this program, and Energize Entrepreneur is perfect for aspiring entrepreneurs and spiritually curious professionals who want to start building their own soul aligned business and brand. And I guide clients through this accelerated 3-month process with me, one that took me kind of over 5 years to figure out on my own. And this approach has really enabled many of my past clients to shift from holding the more mundane jobs to cultivating more purpose driven passions, where they were able to go from being literally being completely out of touch with their own intuition to using their intuition to build magnetic brands and businesses. And some examples I can think of, my client Agnes successfully transitioned from her corporate job at Google to following her purpose.
Oh my
And
gosh.
through our working together, she gained clarity and confidence in her mission, which really empowered her to leave her corporate role at Google and start her own jewelry coaching business, which is super cool. And knowing exactly how to communicate her message to her clientele. And my client Logan really aspired to harness and tap into his creative energy more, like I mentioned before, as a software engineer at Apple. And through our working together, he was able to release his mindset blocks through learning how to meditate and how to leverage psychedelic plant medicine for his own healing. And after integrating his experience, he was really able to increase the output of his creative work for his team, but also lean into more of his creative artwork on the side. And unlike many other coaching strategies like those in business or executive coaching, I typically do a deep dive with my clients to make long lasting changes with them through melding together like the standard growth strategy work and tools that work to expand the consciousness of my clients. So that way they can hone their zone of genius to really create successful businesses. And so that's like really what this program is all about. It's really creating more awareness and more awareness around who you are, your blocks, how to release them, and using kind of these tools like meditation, plant medicine, all these things that can really help purge all of these out of your system and really help you hone in on your mission, your value. So so that way you're so clear in how you want to build your business and brand.
Clarity is number one.
Yeah.
Clarity is the true blocker to success.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's like step 1, right?
Yes.
That's like step 1 in my program is vision alignment. It's like finding that alignment with like your vision. That's like what like kicks off all of it, really.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna put your QR code here on the screen. It's not coming on. Oh, wrong button, sorry.
Oh, oh, there we go. Yes.
There we go, alright. So, go ahead and scan the QR code here on the screen, and that will take you to Eric's website. Tell us about the best way to reach you. Is it through your website? Is it through LinkedIn? What do you prefer?
Any channel is good for me. I'm like on like my LinkedIn. I answer my emails, so you can go to my website there, and you can find my like a contact button, kind of at the very top right of the screen. You can give me a contact, and I'll get back to you like via email. I'm also on Instagram. I have like a larger Instagram following than I do on LinkedIn or Facebook, and so you can find me Energy by Eric on Instagram. And I post lots of like uh, educational videos, like tips to avoid burnout and tips to meditate and how to uncover your soul purpose. And I post all these like kind of
Love that.
more educational inspired videos.
Oh,
So feel free to
I
follow me. And
yeah, I love that you're more active on LinkedIn now because we kind of need that over here on this platform as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I enjoy using LinkedIn. I actually enjoy using LinkedIn more so than Facebook, because Facebook's like gotten so complex and like complicated these past few years, but LinkedIn has remained, I think, like pretty streamlined.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on to my live stream, and I hope that this content is helpful for those of you who are listening right now or later. And if there's any requests that you have for my live stream, just hit me up and tell me what you would like to learn about, and I will do my best to find you the perfect guest for this live stream. Thank
Cool.
you,
Thank you so
everyone,
much,
and
Nancy. This has been amazing.
thank you. And I will hopefully see you soon, Eric.
Yes, sounds good. We'll be in
Take
touch.
care.